Hi everybody and welcome to the Property AI Report. This is your weekly digest of all things property and AI, brought to you by me, Mal McCannion, and my good friend and co-host Matt Goddard. Matt, how are you today?
Very well, Mal. You sound less gruff. Do you have a good weekend so far?
It's been a great weekend. Yeah, we're recording this on Sunday morning at 9:29, which is very late for us, so apologies to everybody. But yes, it's just been a crazy old week and then weekend. Yes, been very busy. Went out to another gig yesterday, another festival. Yeah, it was really, really good fun. Singing, obviously. What about you? What's your weekend been like?
Yesterday was a bit relaxing, but Friday I was also at a gig, so my voice had a chance to catch up, and then obviously the football turn of events last night as well, so maybe feeling slightly jaded.
Yes, indeed. We may not do any spoilers for those that are yet to watch it, but it was, yes, it was worth staying up for in the end, wasn't it? All right, we will crack on with this week's property news. Okay, first up, we have the news that 40 self-employed agents have moved from one brokerage to another. So a big old chunk of self-employed talent has switched across from Keller Williams in Scotland to relative newcomers IAD. Keller Williams, people may know, have been around for quite a while. Actually, one of the first probably to make the journey across the Atlantic from the States and brought that kind of model over here. It's kind of been launched and then relaunched a few times over here. And this particular iteration seems to be very well. There was about 300 Keller Williams self-employed agents. Obviously now down by 40, it seems, because those north of the border have switched across to IAD. IAD came across from Europe, where it's really, really strong. Many hundreds of self-employed agents in France and Germany and various other places, Spain and so on. And yes, came over and have got Lee O'Brien down in Bishop Stortford running the show for IAD and bringing that across here. And yeah, bit of a coup, Matt, to secure these.
Very much so. It's a decent whack, as you touched on there. Lee O'Brien and Dave Kirby are still both in there running things, and when they were acquired by IAD all that time ago, although it was relatively recently, really, wasn't it? I think they had 47 self-employed brokers themselves, so to bring over 40 is a decent chunk, but just shows how they're going from strength to strength. Because last month they also brought on Avocado as well, didn't they? Is another sort of folded and joined the IAD initiative. So I was with Lee actually on Tuesday at the Cyfrifiad conference down in Celtic Manor, Wales, and so he kept that very close to his chest. Didn't mention it, but it was great to see, and obviously adds further weight to this, doesn't it? Part of that consolidation acquisition approach.
Yeah, it's getting really interesting, isn't it? Because obviously there is growth, quite significant growth in the numbers of people wanting to do this, and the kind of tentacles of the various different brands. So obviously you've got EXP is kind of the big dog with over 1,000 agents now, and then you've got TA UK, which itself swallowed up the agency, trying to get it in the right order, and now you've got IAD kind of coming in and swinging big. There is growth in in this particular, in terms of the listings, etc. It's still, I think, less than 5% of the overall industry, but is growing. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting sort of next couple of years, particularly where there's a lot of kind of elbows out, jostling for position, who's going to kind of come out on top, and particularly who's going to be sort of the main challenger perhaps to EXP. But yeah, I think from the consumer viewpoint, which is where you always got to kind of go down back to that lens. I think it's really good for competition. It's really good for choice, to be able to kind of have the option of now probably not just one but maybe two or more self-employed agents locally, as well as the more traditional high street agents, and also the corporates too. So I think it's it bodes well for the industry, bodes well for choice, it bodes well for some competitive options for consumers as well. Right, next up on our property news, we've got Rightmove launching some more AI. So again, just to recap, about a year ago now, probably, Rightmove announced that it was going to go into AI with about £18 million. Its share price tanked as the investors were concerned about its direction. Those that wanted it to just stay, not break the machine. But yes, they've now launched some additional features where you can ask AI all about the area that you've chosen a property on and things like that. And Matt, what's your thoughts on this?
So this feels obviously like they're catching up, and I seem to remember sitting in Barcelona maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, someone being on stage talking about, I think it was Jitty at the time, and how they were doing this as part of the standard search, Jitty being one of the first, I guess, AI forward portals, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
You might have heard of this. There's one called My Porter, where it's much more natural language. And the chief protagonist of My Porter, talks about needing somewhere near a ballroom dancing classes and that sort of thing. So it feels to me like Rightmove has almost got caught with some table stakes, in the same way that when the CRMs start bringing in photo editing and sort of property descriptions, that too feels like table stakes. What's your take, Mark?
Yeah, so exactly that. This is how people are going to search. They kind of have to. They've got to get it. They've got to get there. CoStar has had it for, say, 8 months or so over in the States at this point. They're bringing it over to the UK, I think, next year. I think it's going over to Domain in Australia. But natural language search, the ability to actually articulate what you're looking for just freely and conversationally. And then the ability to kind of, really sort of dig deep. That it continues to be, as it always is, it's backwards, right? So essentially what it's doing is it is bolting AI onto the functionality that it's got, rather than actually building from AI first principles, as you say, that Jitty's done and My Porter's done. Because what Rightmove has to do is continue to send leads, right? Its currency is leads. So it has to show you as a consumer many, many more properties than you are actually specifically looking for, in the hope that you will continue to kind of spam more leads out, because essentially agents pay for leads and can pay for presence. Whereas, what in my view should be happening is people should be able to just articulate the lifestyle, and the properties whether there's one property or whether there's 10 properties should show up. What Rightmove continues to do is to show featured properties and, essentially kind of a corruption of the search results. And from a consumer viewpoint, I think that, in the next sort of year, 2 years, that's just not going to be acceptable. Consumers are going to want to see the properties that are right for them, not the properties that Rightmove wants to show them, because that particular agent has paid them more money for it. So I think that's one of their problems is that kind of search corruption. The second problem is that they only have 85% of the market, and consumers are going to expect to see every property that fulfills that criteria, rather than the subset that Rightmove has. And that, I think that's going to become increasingly important as well, because you can go and ask ChatGPT, and you can go and ask these native AI portals for whatever you like. Yeah, so look, I think that they are, as you say, table stakes. They're catching up. They're making sense. But again, it is, I keep going back to the fun that we had back in 2000, 2001, when the newspapers just were fretting about the internet, this new technology. And they decided the way to do the internet was just to lift the adverts from the newspapers and put them straight onto the internet, and just go, ta-da, there we go, we've done it. When actually the big change was how people were searching for property. And I think that is happening right now. And that's, and again, the incumbents are doing AI just by sticking it on the front of what they're doing already. So yeah, again, I'm certain that we will see more from the incumbent portals, the paid for traditional portals, looking to do similar things like this. But yes, I think it's it's going to be helpful, and it's the right move to be doing, no pun intended, for what they are, for where they are right now. All right, next up on our property news, we've got some more kind of politics stuff. So we've got stamp duty story crushing the housing markets in the south of England. We've got some more news on, so news analysis shows fewer than 10% of first-time buyers pay stamp duty in Northern England compared to 51% in the south. This is Zoopla data. As inherited property could face up to £120,000 capital gains tax. And there's some bad news from some Rightmove data for Labour in terms of where their target areas are for housing developments. So, we're in this kind of weird, almost like vacuum, where we know that Starmer's leaving. We know that it's very likely to be, if not 100% likely to be, Andy Burnham coming in, but we don't really know what's going on. So Matt, there's a lot of kind of these stories going around about anything in particular that all right.
I guess I was just wondering how Binface coming into Clacton's going to have an impact on these, and if anyone's going to release some property related stats on them. Apart from that, some of them do feel like it's almost trying to crowbar in a story around the politics that's going on, right? The idea of stamp duty only affecting first time buyers in the north of England, where house prices we know are a lot cheaper, and you need to be, is it 300,000 for a first time buyer? So I'm more interested in the 2.1% in the northeast, what kind of properties they're buying, because back home that could get me an absolute mansion. Whereas here locally, you can understand that 51% in London. Yes, unfortunately it's tough, but that's the nature of the pricing around that. And we see from Chris Watkin on a regular basis, those sort of average property prices places, don't we?
Yeah, exactly that. And yeah, so I think you're right. We're kind of heading into this area where you've got Camp Binface as one of the big political news stories of the week. Then you're kind of into a bit of silly season. But yeah, no, I think that that we're going to continue to see more and more of this. I think that there's a lot of jostling for position. There's a lot of trying to catch the eye of Burnham and trying to help force his hand in terms of properties. This mythic 1.5 million properties that should have been built over the course of this parliament, which runs out in the next couple of years, and there's very little sign of those coming to pass. So, that manifesto commitment, that movement within the property market, which would be very welcome, still doesn't show any signs of getting off the page that it was designed on, rather than necessarily being actually out in the world. So yeah, look, we will obviously keep you abreast of what is coming up. But yes, there's a lot of heat. Sorry, a lot of light, less heat, if that's the right way to say it. Anyway. All right, that is our property news for this week. Let's talk AI and tech news. Wow. So it's been another huge week in terms of releases of models. And the biggest story is OpenAI and its new family of models, GPT 5.6. Matt, I know you've been having a little play around with all of this. What's your thoughts?
Well, this is another one that's actually been ready for a little while, similar to the Fable 5 from Anthropic and Claude Fable 5 Mythos, where he's had to get into that queue to be reviewed by the US government, mainly down to the fact that obviously Anthropic made a big point about these things are dangerous and should they be getting released, and then Amazon CEO calling the government saying, look, Anthropic aren't returning my calls, but I'm really worried about some of the jailbreaks that you can do with this new model. So 5.6 has actually been available for a while. We spoke last week about their new naming convention of Sol for the absolute workhorse Terra, i.e. Earth, for the intermediate, and Luna is the budget-friendly option. But we now got our hands on it, and to be honest, it's really, really impressive in certain benchmarks. Then this won't necessarily mean a lot to people, but in certain benchmarks, it's absolutely smashing Fable, and I found it really quite impressive how it works. The only caveat on that, though, I use it within Codex, which is their super app, which does a lot of the heavy lifting as well. But so far, found it impressive both across sort of coding, knowledge work, as they call it, the presentations and research. It's very impressive. Yeah. And one of the other big things, it's a good job we didn't do this on Friday morning like we normally do, because even on Friday, they dropped 4 or 5 absolutely huge parts, one of which I was just jumping into is that harness, that Codex, which has been very much geared towards coders, and there is an option in the background that hides the sort of the hyphen script when things are being worked on. But they have now dropped ChatGPT work as part of that, which is very much geared towards everyone else other than coders. And certainly the feedback on that, it launches and links up very elegantly with your ChatGPT mobile app as well, so you can check on tasks, see how things are running, and it's not as terrifying or unnerving as seeing a pure coding app. So that also drops on Friday, which is incredible.
Yeah, and that very much sort of mirrors the co-work, doesn't it, over in Anthropic, which has been around for quite a while actually, but is phenomenal. And yes, so to have this, essentially, it does feel like the anthropomorphicization of ChatGPT, right? So they're choosing these 3 names, and they've matched those to the 3 names from Haiku and Sonnet and Opus from Anthropic. But also, yes, they've now got this this way of organizing work, which co-work is very similar to, and but it's the right direction of travel, right? This is what has been proven to be what people are wanting, what people are needing, what people are looking at. And like you, I've been using it over the last few days, and it's phenomenal. I'm not as sure, and again, probably because I've been using Fable 5 so much, I'm not quite sure that it is right up into that league, but I think it's very, very, very close, and it is also a lot cheaper. Yeah. I think that's going to be something that is really, really important, because Fable 5 is just so expensive and crazy, and it's actually supposed to disappear, I think, today from the from your normal Claude kind of packs, whereas 5.6 obviously is continuing. It's going to be a lot. That level of intelligence is going to continue to be available. So yeah, I think it's amazing. And as we're about to talk about, that there are others that have come out this week as well, that whereas they don't quite match this, the pace that this continues to develop at is continues to astonish. And the fact that they're all pushing each other to just go further and faster, again, I think is incredible. I would be surprised if Anthropic did just hide Fable 5 away, didn't do something about the pricing, because I think now 5.6, ChatGPT 5.6 is here. I do think that puts enormous pressure on them to do something about the pricing and to do something about the availability. I'd say.
And there's a couple of bits there as well. Sorry, that you touched on and you also alluded to. So we've got Fable 5 till today, but that's only because Anthropic extended our original. There's a bit of a stay of execution on how long we would have the model available for. So I think it was originally going to be the 7th. Then ChatGPT 5.6 dropped, and Anthropic within a matter of hours reset the usage. And this is a play that OpenAI do on a regular basis. They sort of give you resets of your usage 2 or 3 times a week if you're actively engaged and doing a lot of work. So you're sort of becoming part of that ecosystem of theirs more and more. And so they're just sort of pulling you in. And Anthropic is the first time they've done that, and absolutely spot on as well. I fully expect that we'll see a Fable 5.1 or some similar, which allows them to have that sort of really bleeding edge model and then use that as the chance to then drop the pricing on Fable 5 at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. And yes, as we mentioned there are other models that have come out this week. So let's have a little look at Grok 4.5. So again, those regular listeners will know that SpaceX took over XAI. It has, as of this week, been rebranded SpaceXAI, which I have to confess I thought it already was. So, but yes, so SpaceXAI, which is really clunky, has released Grok 4.5. Now, this has been built, we're led to believe, kind of from scratch, right? And again, because Elon Musk a few weeks ago said what they built, the previous Grok 4, was built wrong, was what he said. All of the co-founders of XAI left as it merged with SpaceX a few weeks ago. But they took over Cursor for $60 billion, I think, something like that. At the time of the IPO, the float of SpaceX as well. And these guys at Cursor apparently have just spammed out 4.5, Grok 4.5 in record time. And it's actually quite good. It seems that it actually does some really, it's comparable, that people are saying, with, Claude Opus 4.7, which was very recent and very strong. And even ChatGPT 5.5, which was the model that was replaced by this week's 5.6. So, Matt, all confusing, stupid names and numbers and points and all that sort of stuff aside, sounds like it's hotting up from that side as well, right?
Well, it's two. We've for most of this year, we've been talking about Anthropic and OpenAI, right? Gemini was sort of and Google was 2025 was basically their year, a bit like, so far, the World Cup is Bellingham's World Cup. It was there, but they're quiet, and there is talk of maybe we'll get that new Gemini model next week, whether or not that comes to pass, because it's been kicked back a few times. But this week, we've seen Grok from SpaceXAI come hurtling back. Thanks for the thumbs up to confirm I got that right. And I know we'll touch on this in a moment, but Meta's also back as well, right?
Yeah.
But so the key points on Grok 4.5 is it's rapid, it's cheap, and it's actually, pun sort of it intended, it's excelling at office work. So not you'd expect from something like Cursor and the gang there, where it was very much for coders, to be purely a coding-based model. But actually, this is punching heavily into the people who are building complex Excel spreadsheets and that sort of use case as well. So I think people will definitely worth giving it a try. And as we've talked about over the last few weeks, when you're looking at the costs of tokens and you're building things out and you're thinking, which model should I use? Grok 4.5 for both the speed and the price, definitely worth looking at. And the other one that's obviously this week was Meta are also back in the game.
Yeah, so Meta's has launched Muse Spark 1.1. Again, apologies for the stupid names, but yes, this again sounds like it's really, really strong, right? So again, to recap, Meta basically got rid of all of its Llama team, because essentially it was falling behind. It was an open source model, and there was very little defensibility around it. Basically acqui-hired many cutting edge AI engineers for billions and billions, many of them individually for billion, and has rebuilt its superintelligence unit, as it calls it, and is on the hunt to get to superintelligence first, as others are too. And they brought out this model that apparently is amazing. Again, comparable with your ChatGPT 5.5, comparable with an Opus 4.7, something like that. And so in terms of options, we are incredibly spoiled, I think, right now, because all of these are just so strong. As with everything Meta, though, I'm always a little bit cynical, because Meta is absolutely all about, how can we get the ads in? How can we make sure that we lock people into this ecosystem? If you're using WhatsApp, then you'll see there's Meta AI is down there. And again, yes, now it is a lot better and a lot more intelligent. And that's great. But yeah, I remember when I tried to plug OpenClaw into my WhatsApp, and basically just wouldn't let me. And in fact, it locked me out of WhatsApp for about 3 days. So it's just, they are trying to lock you into their particular ecosystem. And that's, I think that could become problematic. Obviously, it's learning from all your data as well. But yeah, there's no getting away from the fact that they are back in the game. They've actually, they've released something that is genuinely good. And it's been a long time since we've been able to say that about Meta, right?
That's it. And in that terms of that cynical tin hat sort of approach, at the same time, Meta have also launched their new AI generator for images, Muse Image, and that very much does play into the whole keeping people locked in. And it's a bit similar to the one that's drawing maybe criticism. It's got a feature that's similar to Cameo that used to be in Suno from ChatGPT, the image generator, where you could put your own profile and your image up. But if you've got access to someone's Instagram, you can basically, in this Muse image generator, just tag the Instagram account and start using the profile. So whether it's public or someone in your sphere of friends, then you can create, I think the term was goofy images, but that's pulling people in and obviously getting them in the lens and the eye of those adverts again, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. And yeah, the whole thing around sort of privacy and Meta is a little bit kind of a little bit dodgy as well. And yes, in terms of the images that they've been using to train this model, very much probably your holiday snaps that you shared on Facebook, back in 2019. All of this stuff has probably come to build all this sort of stuff out. So yes, it's there's always a bit of a concern when it comes to Meta. So that this is just some kind of slightly grimy. But yeah, again, it is phenomenal. The imaging, the stuff, as you say, is great as well. And all of these things are starting to really kind of kick on. And while we're talking about images, ByteDance has debuted Seedream, so Seedream 5.0 Pro, which has advanced reasoning. Now, Seedream, so ByteDance, owners of TikTok, and they've obviously got a lot of data in there as well. Their Seedream looks amazing. Right, I have yet to play around with it fully. I think it dropped a couple of days ago, but it looks insane. Again, we are in an absolute incredible time when all this stuff is just going super fast, and we're just being delivered with basically model after model after model that is astonishing, right?
Yeah, flying.
Okay,
unseated your. Was it ChatGPT Image 2 until now, and this one seems to be knocking that one off.
Yeah, that's right. I think Google, again, to your point about Google, for a long time it had the run of it with Nano Banana 2 and all that sort of stuff, but everybody seems to be piling overtaking Gemini right now. I think that, like you, I'm sure Google can't be sleeping on this. They've got to drop a model pretty soon, because everybody is piling past them on all of their previous strengths. The video VO 3.1 used to be, up until about 4 weeks ago, at the top, and then Seedance came along to 2.0 and then 2.5. So yeah, I think Google have got some catching up to do. But again, when they do, I'm sure it's going to be amazing, and we're going to be just sitting there going, "Wow, this is what a time to be alive." All right, next up on our AI and tech news, we want to so looking to the future, looking at how things are going to kind of pan out. Anthropic has signed a 20-year lease for a Kentucky data center, which is worth $19 billion. This is probably the really boring but really important kind of stuff that we need to be kind of thinking about as well. There isn't enough compute out there in the world, and we are constantly, you are looking at some of the, again, incredible models, but some of the rationing almost of the answers. And again, we spent a lot of time, I've finished the tour this week, met some amazing agents as we went around the country, and just talking to them about, and getting them to understand that actually we are compute constrained. And that means that the fulsomeness of answers to some of the queries that you put in isn't perhaps where it will be when all these data centers are built out, and there's all the space ones and stuff like that. But that might take 5 years, 10 years, and until that point in time, and particularly as demand goes up, all of the models, all of the labs are going to be constrained with what they're able to do. So the kind of big example that I always think about is if you ask it for a property, with access to ballroom dancing classes, sea view, blah blah blah. Generally, the models will come back with a subset of what's available and just hope that so 5 properties that match it, and then you go, is that all of them? And they'll go, no, here's some more. So it's not that kind of big, the full answer. And that's, again, the kind of challenge that we've been looking to solve with what we're doing, because actually you can ask and get 100% of properties, discoverable properties that match your requirements. But yes, as compute finally starts to catch up with demand, if demand is going skyrocketing, particularly with these new models, the agentic models, then yes, it will be possible for more and more queries to be dealt with on the fly. But I think until that point, we're going to see higher prices, Matt, aren't we? And it's not going to be as, in the end, it will be something like electricity, where it just the intelligence is everywhere, and we can just call it on tap. But we're not quite there, are we?
No, and it's why we're seeing people like Zuckerberg and Musk move into this whole neo cloud provider and start sort of renting out their own space, right? Because it needs a lot more data centers. And actually saying to one of my mates at the weekend who's a Sparky, he's like, should you be getting involved in that side of things? For these, we're going to need them. And that's also why Musk is looking at sending them off into space as well, right?
Yeah, exactly that. So yes, plenty more of that. As you say, it's more the kind of the nuts and bolts, the plumbing of all of this AI. But yes, it's really, really critical if we're going to see all the benefits that are likely coming down the track. All right, that is our AI and tech news. Next up, our tool of the week. So if you, like me and Matt, end up talking to your AIs, then you will have noticed a change in ChatGPT this week. So it comes on the back of the release of 5.6. And the voice mode, as I was trundling around various bits of Wales on Wednesday, just chatting to it is a different experience, isn't it, Matt?
Very much so. And it's almost like having a conversation with a human instead of getting the clicks and the words that you had before in terms of that dead space. You get some acknowledgements that it's listening. But I think more importantly, and this going maybe slightly geeky, is before it was synchronous. So you'd ask something and the model would wait until you'd responded, then go off and start investigating and then come back to you. And you couldn't really interrupt. Whereas now they've gone for a full duplex model. So actually a couple of big parts. The voice model before was quite far behind. I think it was almost in a ChatGPT 4 when it was doing the research. Yeah, but actually now it's always going to be on the most recent. So it's already on 5.6. It's running with the tools and access that you've got as well. So you can be asking it to go off and check your emails and look for the last time that Mal actually wrote to you anything pleasant. But also it starts looking for those in the background, and it's got a ticker that once every couple of seconds it's weighing up whether to interrupt or if it needs to say something, and carries on doing it. So it's actually a much more consistent flow in terms of the background reasoning and having information presented. And I started utilizing it. I think it was yesterday. I was walking back from Elephant and having a chat, and it was really quite, it goes back to when voice first came along. It was more of a novelty, being able to sort of backwards and forwards and get things prepared, whereas sort of that micro decision making and the sort of the things that it was coming back with was quite impressive, and that wasn't me driving around Wales like you were on Wednesday.
I did, yeah. So it was very noticeable, first of all. So it goes, halfway, as you're talking. And the first time you kind of hear it, you're just a little bit like, are you just taking the mic? Because you just go, yep. So to the point that, and I talk, people out there know I talk a lot. So I was just chatting with it about something that we were doing and blah, blah. And I got to the end, and then it went, Mal. And like interrupting me, I'm like, what? And it goes, blah, blah, blah. And then it answers the point that I made 3 points ago. But it's fascinating. A little bit kind of, little bit, it's going to take a little bit of getting used to, I think. But it is well worth playing around with. If you've got the ChatGPT app, then you just click on the little audio waves down in the bottom right corner, the blue button, and then you can chat away with it. And it's I think it's phenomenal, and it's going to be the way forwards in terms of how things work.
Is the getting used to the bit where someone's actually interrupting you?
Yeah, I think that's the thing I'm just not happy about. So stop it. But yeah, no, it was literally, you and I had this joke about you going Mao, and it was literally like that. It was going Mao. All right, that is all we've got time for this week. Thank you so much for listening in. We are going to get this up very quickly this Sunday morning. So yes, looking forward to catching up earlier in the week, next week, when we get our stuff together. Yes, listen, thanks so much for listening in. Have great weeks. Enjoy the rest of the football. Very exciting. And we'll catch up with you in a few days' time.
Take care, everyone.